Welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. If I seem a little weird making this horoscope, it's because this is like my fourth or fifth time recording it, and I actually recorded a whole week's horoscope. It was 45 minutes long, and then when I checked it, the audio didn't go through. So Mercury is totally coming after me, and it's really weird when you do a whole weekly horoscope and you've already talked about everything to like do it again. So anyway, if I'm acting a little weird, that's why. I just wanted to say that. Also, before we get started, if I have any audio engineer followers, if I could get some suggestions on a lapel mic for an XLR, I'd really appreciate that because I want to be able to be handless. I don't want to say handless. I don't want to have to hold this microphone when I talk. Anyway, welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. You guys know what's going on this week, right? You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. This is one of the biggest weeks of this year. I've been looking forward to this week for a very long time. I know the other fire and air signs have as well. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This week, a highlight, look at that, Mercury retrograde sextile Mars. Not really a highlight, but it is a bigger transit that we'll end up talking about. Venus is going to sextile Saturn. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Mars enters Aries. As much as I love Jupiter in Mars's sign and Mars and Jupiter's sign, I can't do Mars and Pisces anymore. I have gotten nothing done this past week. Like literally, I haven't gotten anything done, which is not like me. Venus is going to square Pluto. That's not good for the Roe v. Wade stuff, and I guess we'll talk about that. Venus is going to enter Taurus, though, and that's looking pretty sweet. We're going to be having Saturn in its domicile, Mars in its domicile, Venus in its domicile. A lot of dignity this week for the undignified out there. Mars is going to conjoin Jupiter. That's happening this week. It's time to go big or go home. And we end it with the new moon in Gemini, which really does wrap up eclipse season. It does take like that next lunation to do that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and talk about that. We will be wrapping up the week with the new moon in Gemini. So I guess this week is a waning moon phase, right? Everything's kind of slowing down to this like starting point. And the starting point coincides with Mars Jupiter, which is like a beginning point. So pretty exciting stuff. Maybe if we're starting this week, if you're watching this on Sunday or Monday, this is not the week to be like, oh, I'm starting this, I'm starting that. As we get into next week, that feeling will be there. But this week is about kind of figuring out where you're kind of coming down at and where your bottom is and what you're starting up for next week. So anyway, let's talk about Monday. Mercury's going to be retrograde, sextiling Mars. This isn't really the biggest transit in the world, but it does help a little bit, right? Mercury's now back in Taurus, and well, we're also going to be talking about the moon making a sextile to Uranus, which I don't usually really talk about that. Monday just doesn't have a lot going on. I have to give you guys something to listen to. But anyway, on Monday, Mercury retrograde, sextiling Mars. Not the biggest transit in the world, but again, Mercury is now back in Taurus, right? So if Mercury, logistics, planning, our ideas, rationalization, it's in Venus's house. So we're thinking about values, pleasures, enjoyment, security, stability, what nourishes us. And it's retrograde. We're starting to actually kind of get a better idea of what we're rethinking. Again, Mercury was in this area around the end of April, the last few days of April. So think about what was going on then. What were you planning? What were you rationalizing? What were you thinking about? That was, again, this is on the North Node. It was really, really intense. You were really, really focused on that. We're starting to come back to that. We're starting to see maybe what we need to change, maybe how the reality of it's going to be. But anyway, Mercury is going to be sextiling Mars. And this is kind of nice because Mars in Pisces is so... I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very biased about Mars and Pisces. I have Mars in Gemini, so it squares my Mars, and my Mars in Gemini likes I need answers. I need clarity. And Mars and Pisces, like, the clarity and the answers are all inside of you. And I'm like, fuck that shit. Anyway, Mercury's going to be sextiling Mars. And when you talk about like Taurus and Pisces, when you are centered, when you're grounded, when you have some stability, it kind of gives you that ability to be a little bit more Piscean when it comes to, if you don't know what that means, Piscean is kind of like being able to explore your thoughts and your feelings and having that safe space to harbor that energy, right? So I think as Mercury is retrograde sextiling Mars, the things that we're rethinking, the things that we're reseeing, now that we kind of are looking at things from a more of a value perspective, rather than Mercury being in Gemini where it's like just logistics and planning, Taurus is like, okay, let's find some stability here. That's going to sextile Mars. So Mars and Pisces, again, is just taking one step at a time. It's on Neptune still, and it's still confusing. Like, again, I haven't gotten anything done this week, which is not like me, and I don't like that. But I really like this Mercury retrograde sextiling Mars because once we kind of have our thoughts focused somewhere else on that Taurus stuff, I feel like that's going to be motivating for Mars and Pisces to be like, yeah, I can do that at least. Yeah, I can do that at least. So it's actually pretty good. But the only other thing that's going on Monday is the moon's going to be here in Pisces making a sextile to Uranus. Not the biggest deal in the world, but I think as the moon's in Pisces, again, we're exploring our emotions, we're exploring our thoughts and our beliefs. Pisces is like alchemy, right? Like taking one thing and changing it into another. And that's sextiling Uranus. So this is a great time to be again, this is Uranus, innovation, liberation, freedom. It is unstable. So Pisces and Uranus, a little bit of instability there. But I believe with the moon and Pisces making that sextile to Uranus, being able to have that space to explore yourself, explore your emotions, feel things out might give you a sense of a better sense of security. With Uranus and Taurus, the whole key to this is being innovative, being different when it comes to finding security and stability. With Uranus and Taurus, like if you're anticipating like security and stability still being the same as it's always been, that's just not true. We are reinventing these things. We are being innovative about these things. We are trying to, understand this a little bit more. And so I think as the moon's in Pisces sextiling Mars on Monday, it's a lot of Pisces and it's a lot of Taurus stuff. So it's a lot of getting grounded, getting centered. We're talking about Taurus. We're talking about a physical sign, and we're talking about a water sign. So we're talking about our emotions and how we feel. So a lot of just this kind of like getting things grounded almost in a sense on Monday. Let's go ahead and move to Tuesday. Tuesday, we got a lot going on, as you can see, on the 24th. Moon's going to conjoin Neptune and Mars as it's still in Pisces. We'll talk about that. Moon's going to then enter Aries and conjoin Jupiter. So as the moon's on top of Neptune and the moon's on top of Mars, what I pretty much said in that video that didn't have any audio was you don't always need to see what's in front of you in order to go. As the moon then enters Aries and conjoins Jupiter, there is a lot of courage that follows afterwards. Venus will sextile Saturn. That's nice. And then Mars enters Aries. For those that aren't aware, the names of the weekdays or the days of the week were named after the planets. So if anyone ever tells you that you're dumb for practicing astrology, tell them that they're dumb because they actually practice astrology in secret. Calendars were pretty much based off the moon and the sun. But the weekdays are literally named after the planets. So people are actually secretly practicing astrology and they don't even know it. That's my hot take. But here's the thing. Moon's going to be on top of Neptune and it's going to be on top of Mars. This is good and bad. It really just depends on how you handle things. And again, if you're one of those people like, Cameron, when's the astrology going to get good? Never. If you're asking that question, it's never going to get good. Life is only going to get horrible. It's really about what you do with it. You're not always in control of the circumstances life throws at you, but you are in control of how you handle it and how you respond to it. Take some fucking personal responsibility while Jupiter's in Aries, for fuck's sake. A lot of Aries stuff today, so I'm going to be cussing a lot. But the moon's going to be on top of Neptune, and then it's going to hit Mars. So while the moon's in Pisces and our emotions are all a little bit all over the place and we're trying to fill things out on top of Neptune, it's going to be blurry. It's going to be confusing. On top of Mars and Pisces, there's going to be this kind of, on one side of the story, this can feel very, very confusing. You can feel very, very lost. Not sure where you're going to be going next. Not sure what foot to put forward. However, that will only happen if you decide to psych yourself out. You don't have to necessarily believe in yourself to do something. You just have to believe in the process. There is a lot of things that, and I'm sure you guys can relate in your own way, that I've been through in my life that I never thought I could accomplish, but I just shut up and I just did it. And I was able to prove to myself that I was able to do it. And it went against my own personal beliefs. A positive way of handling this is that Moon, Mars, Pisces is you have to trust yourself. You have to be able to just trust and go for it. One of the analogies I was making about this was I've talked a lot about motocross in my videos because I used to race. I used to ride my whole life. And there's a lot of great analogies that you can use with this. One of the things is making a jump. A lot of the times physics can be a little bit confusing to the brain, but when you are riding and you're about to hit a jump, you can't psych yourself out before you hit that jump. When you're hitting that jump, you've got a throttle. If you question it, which again, I mean, like you're about to jump into the air. You're on a 250 pound bike. It's easy to psych yourself out. But if you psych yourself out, that's when you're going to get fucked up. It's the same thing with wild animals. Most wild animals in the wild are more afraid of you than you are of them. And when you show that fear, they will respond to that fear. And that's what a lot of this is here. And I think it's easy to be afraid because there's not a lot of clarity. There's a lot of confusion going on. It's very emotional. But you have to take yourself out of that experience. Because here's the thing. The moon's going to be in Pisces. It's going to hit Mars. Just do it. Just you don't have to know what you're doing in order to do it. Act first, think later. Shoot first, ask questions later. That's what you should be doing here. Because then the moon is going to go into Aries, right? So our emotions, we're going to be really charged up on that Aries stuff. Confrontation, bluntness, realness. This will be the first lunar transit that we have to Jupiter in Aries. Like I've said, guys, it takes those lunar transits to really bring down that energy. And Jupiter's only been in Aries for so long. We're really going to feel that Jupiter and Aries stuff on Tuesday. And as that moon hits Jupiter, there's this sense of like what's really fun about dirt bike riding is like you can see a jump and be like, holy fuck, like that's way too scary. That's way too intense. And someone will just tell you, just hit it. 4th gear pin, you'll be fine. You hit it, you jump it, you're like, whoa, I'm in the air. It's this euphoric feeling. And then you land. And that moon Jupiter in Aries is like, holy fuck, I just did that. Like, I just did that. What are you waiting for to do in your life that you're too afraid to do? Like, Jupiter in Aries is like, you know, when it comes like true actions or true beliefs are shown by your actions. Jupiter has triplicity in the fire signs. So when we talk about your beliefs and actually what you do believe, if you really believe something, put your money where your mouth is. And that might be new for some of you. And I think as the moon goes into Aries and conjoins Jupiter, if you do put your money where your mouth is, I think you're going to be rewarded. Jupiter in Aries rewards bravery. Jupiter in Aries rewards confrontation. Jupiter in Aries rewards taking action on the things that you actually believe in. Because if you actually believed in it, you would actually be doing it. So the moon's going to go into Aries, and then later on that night, Mars is going to go into Aries. There is a night and day difference on Tuesday from when we wake up to when we go to bed. And that difference is going to be feeling lost, feeling confused. Shut that anxiety, shut that stupid voice in your head up. You don't need to listen to yourself all of the time. You just need to trust the situation. Have you guys ever done a trust fall? Have you ever, gosh, I could think of so many examples of this, and I almost don't even want to waste your time with these examples. I think you guys really need to be in the moment, take out that voice in your head, be in the moment, be fucking present in the moment. And then once you take that action, once you take that next step, when Mars goes into Aries and the moon's in Aries, you're going to feel really fucking good. There's a lot of things where it's super easy to psych yourself out. Telling yourself that you can't is so easy. You know what? How about I do it for you? No, you can't actually live your dream life. No, you can't be happy. You're supposed to be miserable. But don't listen to me. Listen to your fucking self. You know what I mean? And again, if you want to listen to that voice inside of your head that says that you can't, go ahead, but you're going to continue to be miserable, and you're going to continue to look at this astrology and be like, when is it going to get better? If you want, like, I get asked a lot as an astrologer, when is the best time for X, Y, and Z? Now is the best time. Stop worrying about the astrology. Let fate do its thing. You need to be more clear about what you're doing in the present moment. Don't wait for the right time to do things. Most of astrology is just finding the least worst time to do something. And there's never a better time to do something than right fucking now. Right now. Don't be afraid to do it. Shut that voice up inside your head. Clear out that energy. When we talk about meditation is just about clearing out those voices in your head. That's what you need to be doing with this Pisces stuff, because then once you go into the Aries stuff, everything charges up and you can start taking immediate action. Once Mars goes into Aries, this is another thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about the last time Mars was in Aries. This was from July of 2020 all the way until December of 2020. But that included a Mars retrograde that was squaring Saturn, squaring Pluto, squaring the nodes, squaring Jupiter. I want you to think, what were you trying to do? What were you trying to fight for? What were you trying to accomplish during that summer that you couldn't, that you were restricted with, that you were held back with? Because whatever that is, you get a second chance. You legitimately get a second chance. You just have to shut up. You need to get clear in the moment. You need to clear out that junk in your brain, throw it on the back burner, and just do it anyway. No fear, KNOW, no fear, and do it anyway. Do you know how fucking, like, you're never going to have a better time to do things than now. Gosh, I'm going to keep going off on this, but I need to move on. Anyway, Mars is going to go into Aries. The other thing that's going on is Venus is going to be sextiling Saturn. The analogy that I used the last time is it's like, don't be afraid. The question I had for a lot of my following was how many, because 80% of my following is women. I want to know how many women have actually been able to get out of a ticket by flirting with an officer. I want to know, because Venus in Aries sextiling Saturn in Aquarius is flirt with the authority to get what you want. Venus in Aries is very like taking what you want. And as it sextiles Saturn in Aquarius, there is this kind of like, if Saturn is, again, also too, Saturn is like motionless right now. Saturn's like not even moving. Saturn's about to station retrograde next week. But as Venus is in Aries, and we're talking about value, drive, and she's in her sign of detriment, she doesn't do that well there. So she kind of enjoys the raunchy spiciness. As that sextile Saturn, there's this kind of like, try it out, see what happens. It can't hurt to, it'd be different if you're like, hey, officer, I'll like, do something incredibly inappropriate to get off. That's like bribery. But see if a flirt, see if a wink might do something. Like Venus sextiling Saturn is very like, even though Venus is in her detriment, there is this kind of like being able to get away with things or, it's Venus. I mean, it's Saturn is helping out Venus here. Sextile is a very like a homie hookup kind of thing. And Venus in Aries is like, give a wink to the bartender and maybe you'll get a free drink or something like that. The moral of the story here is on Tuesday, do the Aries thing. Just do it. And if it doesn't work, you'll find out. But I would rather you guys do it and figure out what didn't work rather than not do it and just regret not taking any action. That brings us to Wednesday. Moon conjoins Chiron while Mercury retrograde trines Pluto. I haven't been talking about this trine to Pluto a lot, but Mercury is slowing down and it will be trining Pluto for quite some time. So it is something to discuss, but I kind of want to talk about this moon conjoining Chiron thing. Chiron is the wounded healer. And I've talked about this in a very ancient video I posted in 2017 about Chiron and Aries being about the healed warrior. But as that moon goes into Aries and it conjoins Chiron, I know I don't have the Chiron glyph here, so just trust me that it's there. Action is healing. Like that moon conjoining, I remember, what's a good way to look at it? I think I talked about this last week. But I might have talked about this in one of my horoscopes I do on Patreon. I do a live monthly overview on Patreon. I do rising sign horoscopes as well for the month ahead on Patreon. And I'm pretty sure I talked about this there. I say a lot of things and I talk about the astrology multiple times. So I always repeat myself. I'm not always sure where I say it at. But moon conjoining Chiron and Aries feels fucking good. Feels fucking good. Like, the biggest thing is, and again, I think I talked about this on the Patreon. I remember one time I stood up to some bullies. I was getting really bullied in school, and I was always a bitch. I was always told, I'm a Libra moon. My mom always told me, and my parents always told me, if I ever got in a fight, I would get in trouble. So I couldn't fight or anything. And one time, I decided to stand up to one of my bullies, and I was like, "Fuck you guys!" And I got my ass handed to me. I mean, they punked my shit super fucking hard. But man, I felt like the fucking shit just being like, just popping off. It felt fucking good. And I'm telling you, when we get into this Aries stuff and that moon conjoins Chiron, take that action. It will be healing. If you don't, you will regret it. Like everything's in Aries right now. If you're just going to be stationary, you're going to regret it. Honor the time. And this is what I love about astrology. It's a time honoring practice. This is the time to fight. This is the time to take action. This is the time to put your money where your mouth is. If you really believe it, you would be taking action on it. If you really want it, you'd be going for it. Venus is in Aries. Mars is in Aries. Jupiter is in Aries. Stop fucking waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the right. I mean, honestly, the astrology says the right time is now. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of you that are going to have mental gymnastics about how this isn't the right time. And but I got this going on and I got this going on. And you're going to keep making excuses until you're dead. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Jupiter is giving you gifts. Jupiter wants to give you abundance, but he's not. You got to get to the other side of that. Those reward programs in your brain, the dopamine hits when you do something and you accomplish something and you actually make a plan, stick with that plan and accomplish that plan. You're not going to get those dopamine hits until you actually do the thing. And then if you don't do it, you're going to look for those dopamine hits in other places like drugs, alcohol, social media, all that other shit. And you're just going to feel like shit because you didn't actually do what you fucking said. And so while Venus is in Aries, Moon's in Aries, Jupiter's in Aries, Mars in Aries, just fucking do it. You don't have to think about it. You just have to do it. And so what if you, for example, this motocross analogy, let's say you hit that jump and let's say you crash and you eat shit. At least you know what it's going to take for the next time if you do it a next time. But would you rather go and try it, see it? And you might get hurt. But here's the thing, guys, with Jupiter and Aries, you have to risk something. You are not like, it blows my mind how people think that like people are just rewarded for no reason because they're just like privileged. No, people are rewarded because they take risks. What risks are you taking? Because if you don't take risks, you're not going to get the rewards. And you might fuck up, but that's the risk. Like, I mean, for example, like I get a lot of, like, sometimes, I don't want to say sometimes, I have gotten a lot of shit from my position as an astrologer, thinking that, like, I've had everything handed. No one knows how many risks I've taken to get to the position where I'm at. I have tried to do astrology twice full time, and I failed both fucking times. I've done so, and I took risks to get where I'm at, and I've gotten reward for it. Other people will take risks to get the rewards that they want. And I failed twice. When I tried to do astrology full time the first time, I didn't make enough money. I couldn't pay my bills. I had to go and get another job. I still had to sell plasma, which is the most traumatizing thing to me. And it makes me really excited to do this work because I never want to have to donate plasma again to feed myself, which is bullshit. But you're going to get hurt. There's no safety in this life. Like, this is this Aries stuff. If you're going to fight, you're going to fight. But it's either sit there and fucking die or fight for what you fucking believe in. I don't know what to tell you guys. And it's not easy. There's no safe way around it. And no, you're not. And there's no, safety is no guarantee. The only safety you can guarantee for yourself is doing it. For example, if I wanted to hit a jump in motocross and I wanted to make sure I didn't crash, then I need to make sure that I don't let up off of that throttle. One of my favorite things to tell people about, this is just general safety advice, and it's so counterintuitive. If you're driving on the road, and let's say you hit ice, or for example, I'm not even going to use that analogy. Let's go to bikes. Let's go to like a street bike. You're going fast, and you get the speed wobbles. You would think to slow down, but that's not true. If you slow down, those wobbles will get even more extreme, and you'll get bucked off. If you're getting wobbled, the saying goes, when in doubt, throttle out. Fucking pin it and it'll straighten yourself out. I want you guys to fucking pin it. If you are about to hit that jump and you sense even just a little bit of fear, counteract that with even more throttle. If you're in the forest and you see a bear and there's people, like, again, if you sense a little bit of fear and you retract, that bear will go after, but you can literally stand up to something and you can literally act bigger than it. Fake it till you fucking make it. And trust me, it'll work. So my biggest advice on all of this Aries stuff is you have to do it. And there's no guarantee that it's going to work. There's no guarantee that it's safe. The only way that can be guaranteed is is through yourself. If you don't want to crash on this jump, make sure you don't fucking crash. If you want to start a business and you don't want to fail, make sure you don't fucking fail. Do the action that it takes to not fail. So anyway, the other thing is Mercury's going to be trining Pluto. Mercury's retrograde. As it's trining Pluto, the power. It's it's on Algol. There is a lot of revisiting power. There's a lot of revisiting fear. Pluto's so fearful. Pluto wants you to be afraid. Pluto wants you to be so afraid that you're willing to risk to not risk anything and to just live in that fear. And that fear when you live in that fear, you're giving away your power, and you're giving it away for free to other people and to other things that want that from you. They want to feed off of that. While Mercury is in Taurus, trining Pluto, I want you to revisit your relationship to fear, your relationship to power. What do you value in that? Mercury's in Venus's sign, and Venus is in Aries. Right now, with Venus in Aries, there's a lot of value around the fun, the intensity, the rawness, the just taking it. Don't be afraid to live a little bit. This is one thing I wanted to say too about Venus and Aries is a lot of Venus and Aries is like, there's a lot of, what's the word? Kleptomaniacs. There's a lot of people that like to steal stuff, not necessarily to, because they need it, but because they get off to that shit. They get off to stealing stuff. And I don't encourage stealing at all. I'm too I can't steal anything. I can't do that. But with Mercury retrograde in Taurus, this trining Pluto, there's this moment in time where you can have the power of Pluto literally giving a helping hand to Mercury retrograde here. Let's move on. We get to Thursday. Moon's going to conjoin Venus. So there's actually kind of a lot going on here. Moon's going to conjoin Venus. And then it's going to square Pluto, or actually, technically, I fucked this up. The moon's going to conjoin Venus, sextile Saturn, or moon's going to sextile Saturn, conjoin Venus, then square Pluto, and then Venus is going to square Pluto. So here's the dealio. Number one, with this Venus square Pluto stuff, I think this is when we'll know more about the Roe v. Wade, which in my Venus, I made a delineation episode about my predictions for the Venus retrograde in Capricorn. I predicted that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. And when you look at the documents, it was back when Venus was in Capricorn and Aquarius that a lot of those hearings actually happened. My slight prediction is I think that if we're going to figure out if it's going to get overturned, we'll hear about it then. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I would rather say the prediction, though, and maybe, I get things wrong all the time. But the moon's going to be conjoining Venus. But before it conjoins Venus, it's going to sextile Saturn, square Pluto, conjoin Venus. Again, you kind of just have, while the moon's on Venus, there is this rich rewarding. Have you ever flirted with someone out of your league and they flirted back? And then after that, you were you maybe had a little bit more confidence than you should have. I think that's what's going on here. I think as this moon is waning and we're getting to this new moon and we're starting to get used to all of this Aries stuff going on, I think with this moon on top of Venus, it will feel this is a little complicated because the moon and Venus wants what it wants. However, with it squaring Pluto, make sure, there's a certain boundary to have, right? You don't want to go too extreme because Pluto can take things to extremes. You don't want to go too extreme to get what you want. Have a fair balance. You know what I mean? For example, you can kind of, flirt your way into something, but if there's a rejection, if there's a no, you have to respect that. With this moon conjoining Venus squaring Pluto, I think it'll be really easy to want to challenge that and say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And I know I've been saying a lot of you need to do it. I look at Thursday, though, with Venus and the moon squaring Pluto, and just make sure you're not going too extreme with stuff, especially with Pluto and Capricorn squaring Venus and Aries is it. I would say if it is a little bit risk a little bit, don't risk a lot. A little bit of risk is good. You don't need to be again, I think the risky stuff should be a little bit more in the earlier in the week. But I think if you're on a sick one, just because you could steal one thing once doesn't mean you need to be doing it all the time to get off. That's what I would say here is do your thing once, but then, figure out the boundaries with that. Anyway, let's get to Friday. Friday, the moon's going to go into Taurus and Venus will still be squaring Pluto. So that square actually happens for a while. But as the moon goes into Taurus, things really kind of chill out actually for a little bit. Is this the right day? Yeah. So Friday's really not a lot of things going on. It's just that moon in Taurus transit. And the moon, emotions or feelings, it's going to be exalted in Taurus. There's this ability to really ground ourselves, nourish ourselves, gather the things that we need. This is starting to begin the dark moon phase. So the moon is going to go bye-bye and we won't see it for a little bit. And as that happens, I think as the moon goes in Taurus, it's get your belongings ready for this new moon. This is a new moon in Gemini that we're building up into. This is a mutable sign. This is the sign of changes. This moon in Taurus is get what you need together to go into a period of change. And this moon in Taurus is going to feel very grounding for those type of things. Venus will be squaring Pluto, though. Again, you're going to want what you want. And you can, again, like Venus squaring Pluto, Pluto's in the superior position. You can flirt your way into things, but if there is a clear, limit that you need to respect, then respect that limit, because otherwise Pluto can really give you some fucking problems. If you disrespect that boundary, especially with like Pluto, it's not going to be that favorable to you. So just be clear about what you're doing. And if you feel those barriers, you feel those walls, like listen to that. Let's get to Saturday. Saturday, Venus enters Taurus. Moon conjoins Uranus, and then the moon will conjoin the North Node and square Saturn. Saturday's nice. Venus entering Taurus is pretty great. We're going to have Mars in its home sign, Saturn in its home sign, Venus in its home sign. I know this still says Venus in Aries, but I think it says 2959. So it's going to be going into Taurus like later that day. When Venus, pleasure, love, romance, indulgence, connection, she is dignified. Venus in Aries has no dignity, which I love saying for Venus in Aries. It's like raunchy. But as Venus in Taurus, she steps into her dignity, right? She is in her home sign. She has she has access to all the tools that she needs to do her job. For example, Venus in Scorpio, Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. She is without access to the tools typically. So for example, Venus is about beauty and art, and Scorpio is about like war and death. And so Venus in Scorpio is very like, let's make war and death and all those things very pretty. Venus in Taurus is like, you're an artist and you have the tools that you need to make the art that you find pleasurable. And so I think as Venus goes into Taurus, there is this, things get more enjoyable, things get nicer in the sense that, again, Mars, Jupiter brings rewards, and it's going to reward bravery and action. And Venus in Taurus is the fruits of your labor are fucking nice. Like Venus in Taurus is like that reward, that effort that you put in is rewarded. What's the word I'm looking for? Appropriately. The actions and the things that you do will have, and the efforts that you put in will be rewarded appropriately. So enjoy that. But the moon's going to be conjoining Uranus. The other thing with Uranus and Taurus, value, security, food. A lot of people have been talking about food with Uranus and Taurus. With the moon conjoining Uranus is you have to be willing to do something different. You have to be willing to do something innovative. Because with that moon conjoining Uranus, if you're just planning on, if you're looking for nourishment and comfort in the old ways, you're going to have problems. But if you are innovative, if you are different, if you are ingenuitive, if you are creative with what gives you that stability, what gives you that security, the moon conjoining Uranus will reward that. The problem with the moon conjoining Uranus is the moon in Taurus wants things to be very chill, and Uranus wants to shake it up. And you have to be kind of willing to go with that, you have to be willing to be inventive. You have to be willing to be different. You have to be, again, willing to take risks. Uranus is the liberator. And, Prometheus taking fire from the gods was a little bit of a risk. Just a little bit. And I think that moon conjoining Uranus is, again, a lot of risk this week. I really like that. But as Venus goes into Taurus and the moon conjoins Uranus, when it comes to value, pleasure, be innovative, be creative. I mean, look how much we have all of this Aries stuff and then all of this Taurus stuff. Mercury's in Taurus, North Node in Taurus, Moon in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. That's 5 planets in Taurus. It took me a second to count that. There is a lot of focus on pleasure and value, but we're pleased with Venus and Taurus. The moon is there. It's really nurturing. It's hitting home. The North Node is there. We're hungry for it, but it's got Uranus. If it ain't different, it's going to be shit. If it ain't new, if it ain't innovative, if it ain't liberating, it ain't shit. So just don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to get out of your goddamn fucking comfort zone for once in your life to do something new. How much longer can you live this way? How much longer can you keep doing the same fucking thing over and over and expecting this fucking different results? Really? Get out of your comfort zone. You can do it. Oh. Sunday's the big one, guys. Moon's going to conjoin Mercury. Then the moon's going to enter Gemini. And that begins the new moon in Gemini while Mars is conjoining Jupiter. So, number 1, moon on the North Node, moon conjoining Mercury. I think as Mercury is still retrograde here, and I mean, it's pretty much like where it's going to station direct. We're we have rethought about our values. We have again, look at where Taurus rules in your chart. As we have rethought this, as we have like had plans and those plans have had to change and we've had to reconsider some things, I think we're a lot more clear on what it is that we want, what it is that how we can extract value and how we understand that. Like the moon conjoining Mercury in retrograde is like, okay, this is how things are going to go. Like Mercury's going to square Saturn, Mercury will station direct, Saturn will station retrograde. We're going to realize that it's not as easy as we think it is. And if we want what we want, we're going to have to work for it. But as the moon conjoins Mercury, there's that clarity and there's that sense of like, okay, I see what's going to be happening. But then the moon goes into Gemini and we start this new moon in Gemini. When we talk about Gemini, talking about communication, understanding, change. I want you to focus on change. This is the first lunation in Gemini that's not an eclipse. Think about that. Those eclipses in Gemini, when the North Node was in Gemini and everyone was just yelling at you about information and everything was just info, data, and the South Node was in Sagittarius and everything that you believed was wrong, it's not there anymore. What are you fucking understanding? Like, that's the thing with Gemini. It's about understanding stuff. Mercury's retrograde in Taurus. I think you're going, oh, I think I see this area of my life differently now. And that's good because Mars is going to conjoin Jupiter. Mars conjoining Jupiter, let me tell you the bad. Mars conjoining Jupiter, Mars separates, Mars cuts, Mars inflammates, Mars angers, Mars is aggressive, and it's in its home sign. So think of Jupiter. Jupiter's about like abundance and belief and hope. And so Mars conjoining Jupiter can be a separation from things. Mars conjoining Jupiter can be a cutting off from things. Mars conjoining Jupiter can be like cutting off from gifts, cutting off from abundance. But to be honest with you guys, I don't necessarily believe that this one's really bad. Because Jupiter is uplifting Mars. Mars is about fighting. And you got to learn how to fight, by the way. In this culture and in this society, confrontation, fighting, it's perceived as bad until the media gives you something to be angry about. And then you're allowed to be angry about that. What are you actually angry about? What are you actually taking action on? Are you projecting anger somewhere else, or are you actually clear? Like, there's so many people, for example, like, during the whole pandemic thing, someone yelled at my mom one time because my mom, she was in Utah, by the way, so it's a little bit different. She was in Utah at the time. She wasn't wearing a mask in a store, heaven forbid. And someone yelled at her. Luckily, me or my stepdad wasn't there. Otherwise, that shit wouldn't have went down. But someone yelled at her and was like, "You're the problem. You're the reason people are dying." That guy was not mad at my mom. He was mad that he was never loved as a child, that he's not living the life that he wants, that he's in an unhappy relationship, that he's probably not who he wants to be. And so society gives us things to be mad at. Oh, you're not okay. It's not okay to express anger unless it's for this person. Are you really mad at that? What are you actually mad about? What are you actually taking action on? And I think this Mars conjoining Jupiter, Jupiter is asking you about your belief system. And Jupiter in Aries is like, if you believe it, you will take action on it. If that is what you believe, you will do that. Because if you don't do it, you don't believe it. Right? Doesn't that make sense? And so I think as this new moon's in Gemini and this is Mars conjoining Jupiter, go big or go home. You don't, like, what's the saying? Courage favors the brave, or no, success favors the brave. I think that's what it is. Let me know what the actual saying is in the comments below. I don't know what I'm saying here. You have to be brave. In order to do something that you've never done before, you have to be brave. In order to get something that you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. And it's really easy. I read the comments. A lot of people think really highly of me, and that's really great. But my internal monologue is not that strong, and I have to get over a lot of shit all the time. I'm not always that brave to do stuff. I have to get out of my comfort zone to do things that I believe in too. So I'm not like, I have to do this shit too, guys. It's not easy for me. I mean, I might sound like it is, but it's not. This shit's hard. Life is fucking hard. Life is not easy. And I don't care. You can have $1 million, $1 billion. It ain't going to be easier. It ain't. It ain't going to ever get better. That is a conscious decision and a conscious effort that you have to make to realize what's good. Jupiter is about gratitude. Are you even grateful for the things that you can do? I don't like using that word, but I do hate when people are like, I can't do this and I can't do that. Motherfucker, do you know how many people I know that can't actually do things and they do it anyway? One of my, I wish I remembered this guy's name, but there's a man here in Denver who is blind and he couldn't find a job and he needed money and no one wanted to hire him because he's blind. So you know what he did? He started one of the biggest employers of blind people in America. When I hear that story, I feel like a bitch for my excuses. A blind man can't get a job, so what does he do? He makes one fucking self and then employs all the other blind people. I wish I knew his fucking name. I'm really upset that I can't share that with you guys. Don't tell me that you can't. You can. You're just choosing not to. Why? I don't know. Because that's your excuse. Because that, you know what? You know why you're not doing it? It's because it validates all of your shitty internal monologue that you grew up with. Yeah, you know, when your dad told you that you're not shit, or if you even had a dad, it just enables that belief, and that's what's comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. If you really want to make those changes, if you really want to. So, I want to tell a story. I've done a lot of personal development seminars, and again, I think I might have shared this on the weekly horoscope that I tried to record and it didn't work. But I've done a lot of personal development seminars. I was in this one. It was 90 days long. It was a big deal, and we had a exercise one time. This exercise was at the very end of the day. And throughout this day, we were teed up really well for this. Like, we were in the moment. We were in the experience. We were all, and this was like a team of 25 of us. We're talking about our trauma. We're talking about all this stuff. And we did a board breaking exercise. And what this was, it was breakthrough. It was called a breakthrough moment. And this whole thing was after we talked about our trauma and all this other stuff. They gave us a board. And they said, on this board, for, you know, if I could be fucking real and raw, I'm going to hold that for another day. But on these boards, everyone's trauma, their problems, they've said, well, for me, for example, let me just fucking be raw and real. I was molested as a kid. That had a lot of, you know, impacts growing up. And of course, that has a lot of different stories with it. But for me, what I went through with that was this board. And I'm not a big, and I was a little skeptical of how this worked, but for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people have been sexually assaulted and molested, which is insane because no one wants to talk about that in this country. But a lot of people's trauma were placed on this board and they said, punch this board. Everything that you've ever been through is on this board. And I mean, when you saw people punch that board and break it, you saw everything in their spirit break and be liberated. It might be fucking terrifying to face some truths, and it's not going to be easy. But break that fucking board that's in front of you. Attach whatever you need to attach to that board and punch it. And I mean, don't be a little bitch. Punch that shit. Scream at it. I'm not even fucking kidding right now. This is a big fucking week. And I don't want you guys to miss out on this type of shit. Because it's super easy to be like, well, you know, it's Mars conjoining Jupiter. Take it easy on yourself. No. Mars conjoining Jupiter, bust through the other side of your limiting fucking beliefs. Tell yourself that you can actually do something for once in your life and fucking do it. This is you can't ask for a better situation. Mercury stationing direct, it's a new moon, and it's Mars Jupiter. You cannot ask for a more favorable time to literally redefine yourself, or at least momentarily redefine yourself. So, you know, on Sunday, as we get to this next weekly horoscope, you play a small game, you're gonna get small rewards. Play a big game. Do something bigger than yourself. Play a big game. If you're playing small, you're wasting your time. We get to next week, and next week Mercury stations direct and Saturn stations retrograde. That's it. Mercury stationing direct means we've rethought about it all, we've replanned it all, and now it's time to do it for the third time. Now, with Saturn stationing retrograde, Saturn's been direct since October, entered shadow, I think, in like December or January. We've been taking on more responsibility, more maturity, more authority. Now, Saturn station's retrograde, we're going to go, you know, it's fun being the manager when you're the boss of everybody, but it's not fun being the manager when you have to fire people and when you have to do uncomfortable things. So Saturn stationing retrograde is that responsibility and that authority. And Saturn stationing retrograde too in Aquarius is pick your fucking side. Pick your side. Because again, the other thing I say about this is Saturn stationing retrograde, if you're too afraid, for example, if you want to do a prison break, if you want to break out of prison and you've got a team of people saying, we're coming. You want to go? Yeah, you can get in trouble. You can get a life sentence. And that Saturn stationing retrograde is either you can sit behind and be afraid, or you can say fuck it and go anyway. This is the week to break through these limiting beliefs. This is the week, guys. Don't fucking waste it. Take this to fucking heart. And I swear to God, if I see comments about, oh, well, I can't do it because X, Y, and Z, that is your own brain. And it's fucking sad. Because people can throw help at you and give you options and alternatives, but until it is your idea and it is your choice to do it, you're never going to do it. It's the same thing with mental illness. It's super easy to be like, oh, well, I have this and I have that, and that's why I can't do these things. It's your fucking brain. It's your choice. Yeah, I have mental illness issues too. I was suicidal for half my fucking life. Every teacher called my fucking parents saying that I couldn't get a hold of myself and that I should be put on Ritalin and ADHD medication. I have plenty of mental illness issues. And yes, it is challenging. It is very challenging. I'm not disregarding that. But are you going to let that get in the way of what you want? Because if you are, then you're never going to be where you want to be. And you're going to have to get over stuff, and you're going to have to push through things in order to get where you want to be. And it's not fucking easy. It's not. But again, would you rather regret doing what you did because it didn't work, or would you rather sit there and regret because you never did it? I know what I'd much rather see what's on the other side and maybe regret that choice than not doing anything at all and being where I'm at. So when you want to talk about final thoughts this week, I think I've made it really clear. Like, it's going to be really easy to psych yourself out this week. It will be. Because all of those limiting, like Aries stuff, this culture, I love seeing astrologers talk about Mars stuff as if they know anything about Mars stuff. In this culture, it is so much easier to just, you know what, just love yourself. Just love yourself and don't do anything. Life's so hard. No. Fight for what the fuck you want. And I'm probably gonna have a lot of people be like, well, Cameron, this is why I disagree. I don't even give a fuck. Because while you guys are going to sit there and tell me all of your excuses of why you can't, me and the rest of us that are actually taking charge of our lives are going to do the things that we want to and get the success that we want. And we're going to overcome our limiting beliefs. With Jupiter and Aries, like Aries is about that spark. It's about that identity. It's about what you can do. Mars conjoining Jupiter is, again, go big or go home. And sometimes it can be easy to overdo things, but I don't think this is a week about overdoing things. I think it's really easy to underdo things this week. It's really easy to play. If it will be easier to play a big game versus if you resist this, which that's all of this stuff, by the way, all of these diseases, all this other stuff is fucking resistance. And if you resist this, you're going to regress, and it's going to show up in other areas of your life because you didn't listen. Listen to your soul. Listen to that gut. Listen to your fucking higher self. Stop fucking listening to that childhood trauma that you have in your brain. Stop listening to what society tells you is okay. Make a fucking choice for yourself. Stop listening to other people. Listen to what you believe in. Society's going to tell you 10,000 things, and then society's going to change its mind 5 seconds later, like it has over these past 2 years. Society's changed its mind like this, like that, like this, like that. And you're never going to be on the right side. So you might as well think for your fucking self. And again, there's a lot of shit I know here that people aren't going to like, and I don't give a fuck because my job as an astrologer is to not tell you what you like. My job as an astrologer is to read the astrology and to tell you the best way to go about it. Sometimes that involves saying things that you're not going to like. But if you don't like that, go listen to astrologers that tell you that everything's going to be okay and that you should, play a small game and be soft and not stand up for yourself and take it easy. Or you can just ignore me and do whatever. Anyway, I can riff about this forever, guys. This is a huge fucking week. When I see you next week, I swear to fucking God, you better have done something. So I will leave you guys off with that. I love you guys so fucking much. You have no idea how much energy I put into this to make sure you guys have some type of juice to move forward. I love you guys. I'm putting all of my energy into you. You don't need to believe in yourself. I believe in you. Okay? If you don't believe in yourself doing all this, that's fine. You don't need to believe in yourself. You just need to do it. No fear and do it anyway. Stop looking for, because here's the thing. This is so important, by the way, because I wanted to end this, but this is so important. You do not need to believe in yourself in order to get the thing that you want to get. For example, this is a personal belief I'm struggling with. You do not have to believe in what you're doing in order for it to work. Just like you don't need to believe in astrology in order for it to work. And if you're waiting for that confidence and that belief, it's never going to get there. In order to build confidence, in order to build that belief, you have to take the action. The positive action reinforces the belief. If you have this belief that you're shitty it's because you take shitty actions. But if you start taking positive actions, gratitude is earned. Belief is earned. Earn it this week. I'm just gonna keep ripping off if I don't stop here. So just do it, guys. You really can't ask for something better. And this is how we're going into the rest of the year. Shit's not gonna get easier. Never will be. But you can get stronger and you can handle these things better because it's never going to get easier. Life is still going to throw you challenges. You can have the partner you want, the money you want, the house you want, the kids you want, the job you want, the life you want. And you're still going to find a fucking issue as to why it's not good enough. Especially us Americans. I love when other Americans tell me I'm privileged as if they're not in the US of fucking A. As Americans, I don't even want to go into that. So guys, just do it this week. I swear to God, if you come back here, don't disappoint me. Actually, I lied. You can disappoint me. I'm still going to be here and I'm still going to support you. Don't disappoint yourself. Okay? This is about being integral to you. Mars, Jupiter, take that action if you believe it. Live with some fucking integrity. And again, you don't have to believe in yourself in order to do it. But when you do it, that's when you'll believe in yourself. There's a lot of things I've done in my life that I never thought I believed that I can do, but I did it anyway. And now no one can tell me I can't do shit because I've done it. There's so much. You don't need to believe in yourself in order to do it. You just need to do it. And that's how you'll believe in yourself. That's this Mars Jupiter stuff. End of fucking story. I got to stop now. This is a long horoscope. I love you guys so much. Keep fucking going. And I'll see you next week.